At 17, my adopted sister accused me of getting her pregnant. My family disowned me, my girlfriend left, and I disappeared. 10 years later, the truth surfaced, and they came to my door in tears. I didn't answer. Hey, Reddit. I never thought I'd write something like this, but after what happened a decade ago, I just need to tell someone who might actually listen. My family erased me overnight because of one lie. Now that the truth is finally out, I'm not looking for pity, just to tell you how it all unfolded. I'm Jackson, 27 now. I was 17 the night my life ended without me dying. My family was having one of our big Saturday dinners. Grandparents, uncles, cousins, everyone. My parents loved showing off when the house was full. Mom thrived in attention, always loud and proud about how our family sticks together. Dad was outside grilling while my brother and I set up chairs. Then there was Anne, my adopted sister. My parents adopted her when she was 8 because they'd always wanted a daughter. She fit in easily, quiet, polite, shy. I helped her with homework, taught her to ride a bike, and stood up for her when kids teased her for being adopted. I never saw her as anything but my sister. That night, though, something felt off. She wasn't eating, kept fidgeting. I figured maybe she was sick or tired. After dinner, when everyone was in the living room, she suddenly stood up, trembling, and said she needed to tell everyone something. I still remember her voice shaking as she said my name. Jackson, he forced me. At first, I didn't understand. Everyone froze. The room went silent, only the clock ticking. My brain couldn't process what she'd said. I thought it was some terrible misunderstanding, until she added, I'm pregnant. My dad's hand hit me before I could speak. His fist landed so hard my vision went white. I hit the floor, ears ringing, teeth buzzing. Mom screamed like someone had died. My brother shook his head, whispering, What the hell's wrong with you? Dad, I didn't. I started, but another punch cut me off. You sick bastard, he yelled, red-faced and shaking. You've shamed this family. Anne cried into Mom's arms, saying she was scared. My aunt held her close, whispering, It's okay, sweetheart. You're safe now. My brother Jake spat near my shoes. Get out. You don't deserve to breathe our air. I looked around at the faces I'd known my whole life. None looked at me like family anymore. She's lying, I said, my voice cracking. I swear on my life, she's lying. No one cared. Mom shouted, Don't even say her name. Someone called the police. By the time officers arrived, I was sitting on the porch, bleeding. One asked my dad if I was the suspect, and he nodded without looking at me. The officers weren't rough. They saw I was just a broken kid, but sitting in that car with the sirens blaring felt like being buried alive. At the station, they asked me questions that barely made sense. When did it happen? Did she say no? I kept repeating, it never happened. They didn't book me. There was no proof, no evidence. I was released the next morning. One officer muttered, statutory, under his breath. Anne was 16, I was 17, barely a year apart. Still, they had to investigate. They checked timelines, phone records, and in the end, there was nothing. But when I stepped outside, the world had already chosen sides. By sunrise, half our small town had decided I was guilty. I didn't go home immediately. I walked until my legs gave out. When I finally reached the house, my belongings were piled on the lawn, clothes, books, my backpack. My dad stood by the door like a guard. Get out, he said coldly. You're done here. Dad, please, you know me. I'd never. Don't call me that, he snapped. You're not my son anymore. I tried to reach for Mom. She turned away, holding Anne tighter. Jake slammed the door. I stood there, shaking so badly I could barely lift my bag. That night, my phone buzzed. It was Emma, my girlfriend of a year. She whispered through tears, I believe you, Jack. I swear I do. But my parents said if I talk to you again, they'll call the cops. Please, don't make this harder. Then she hung up. That was the last time I ever heard her voice. I sat behind a gas station 2 towns over, staring through a cracked windshield as rain fell in crooked lines. In less than 12 hours, I'd gone from being a normal kid with a family, a girlfriend, a future, to a criminal in everyone's eyes. Every passing car made me think my dad was coming to finish what he started. But no one came. When the sun rose, I saw my reflection in the rearview mirror. My face bruised, shirt still bloodstained. That's when it hit me. No one was coming to save me. My family hadn't just kicked me out. They'd erased me. I drove through the night with no plan, just a backpack and $200 in my wallet. The gaslight blinked as I entered a small town called Maplewood. I pulled into a parking lot behind some half-abandoned stores. Hungry, cold, and exhausted, I saw a help wanted sign in a diner window. I stared at it for a long time before walking in. A bell jingled above the door. A man with a gray beard looked up from behind the counter. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice rough. "I saw the sign," I said quietly. "I can wash dishes, anything really." He eyed me for a second. "You ever worked in a kitchen?" "No, sir," he grunted. "You look hungry." "I'm fine," I lied. He nodded toward the back. "Name's Andy. Sinks that way. You start now. Get a meal after your shift. No questions, no forms, just work." The kitchen was hot and noisy. I scrubbed dishes until my hands went raw. The first meal he gave me was a leftover burger and fries from a customer's plate. I didn't care. I devoured it. When closing came, I told Andy I'd sleep somewhere outside. He wiped his hands and said, "There's a room upstairs. Not fancy, but it's got a bed and a lock. Work it off." It was the first kindness I'd been shown in weeks. The room was tiny, with peeling wallpaper and a flickering bulb, but it was shelter. I slept 14 hours straight. Days passed. Andy didn't talk much, but he'd grunt, "Good job," now and then. Those words meant more than any apology I'd ever received. 2 weeks later, he asked about my story. A trucker had recognized me from a paper. I froze, panicking. "It's a lie. My sister, she made it up." Andy just raised a hand. "Calm down, kid. I don't care what they say. You're here working. That's what matters." For the first time since that night, I didn't feel like a monster. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, realizing Andy, a stranger, gave me a chance my family never did. A week later, I called home. Mom answered. "Mom, it's me." Silence. "Jackson?" "Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm okay. I found a job." "Don't call here again," she said, voice breaking. "Your father doesn't want your name spoken in this house." Then she hung up. That was the last time I tried. Weeks became months. I worked double shifts and saved what I could. Andy taught me to fix small things, pipes, vents, thermostats. "Learn to fix things, kid," he'd say. "That's how you survive." One night, curiosity got me. I searched Anne's name online. There she was, smiling, surrounded by family, her belly round. My mom beside her, proud, Jake in the corner, smiling like nothing had happened. My stomach twisted. I closed the laptop and decided that I'd never be Jackson Smith again. After that night, something inside me shut off. No more trying to explain. No more hoping they'd realize the truth. I was done being the person they buried. I threw myself into work at the diner. I came before sunrise and left long after closing. I fixed leaks, cleaned vents, and learned every corner of that kitchen. Andy noticed. One afternoon, while I was elbow deep unclogging a drain, he said, "You ever think about learning this stuff for real?" "Like plumbing?" I asked. He chuckled. "Nah, bigger. Heating, cooling, HVAC systems. People always need air or heat, kid. That kind of skill keeps you alive." Something about that stayed with me. I was tired of scrubbing dishes. I wanted something lasting, something no one could take away. A few weeks later, Andy handed me a flyer from the community college nearby. "Night classes," he said. "You'd be good at it. Pay what you can. I'll cover the rest until you're steady." No one had ever offered to help me like that before. Not even my family. I signed up the next day. The first few months were rough. I'd work 10-hour shifts, then take the bus to night school, fighting sleep through lessons about compressors and coils. But every time I fixed something, when cool air blew from a vent or a dead unit roared back to life, I felt like I was rebuilding myself piece by piece. Andy pushed me hard. "Don't just get good. Get so good they can't ignore you," he'd say. By the time I earned my GED, I was halfway through the HVAC program. I started taking small repair jobs, Andy's house, the diner, and a few local clients. When my certificate came, Andy hung it in the diner's hallway like it was his own kid's diploma. "Not bad for a runaway," he said, patting my shoulder. I laughed, even though that word still hurt. With his help, I saved enough to buy a used pickup and secondhand tools. I quit the diner and joined a local HVAC company full-time. One summer day, a coworker named Derek was accused of stealing money from a client's kitchen. The boss was ready to fire him. The look on Derek's face reminded me too much of myself 10 years earlier. "Check the vent," I said. Everyone looked at me like I was crazy. I climbed up, unscrewed the cover, and found the missing envelope stuck inside the air duct. The client had left it too close to the vent. Derek almost cried. The boss apologized to the customer, and later that night Andy called. "Heard what you did, kid," he said. "You didn't just fix air, You fixed a mess. That's what separates men from mechanics. Those words stuck with me. Years passed that way. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. Life was steady and quiet. But some nights, I still felt hollow, like a whole other life was buried somewhere I couldn't reach. One night, while going through invoices, I opened an old account I hadn't touched in years. Social media. I shouldn't have. There they were. My family. Smiling in photos, celebrating my niece's 10th birthday. My mom held her. My dad had his arm around them. My brother was grinning in the back. The caption read, "Happy birthday to our miracle girl. Family is everything." I scrolled until my chest hurt. Anne looked happy, like she'd never destroyed anyone's life. I shut the laptop and sat in the dark, shaking. I used to imagine they'd fall apart without me, but they didn't. They just replaced me. That night, I deleted every old account, every trace of Jackson Smith. The next morning, I filed for a legal name change, Jackson Winter. It was my grandmother's maiden name, the only person who ever showed me real kindness. When the new ID came, I stared at it for a long time. The photo looked different, older, tougher. That was the day I stopped running from my past and started building something new. 10 years later, I had my own company, Winter Heating and Air. Just 2 vans, 3 employees, and loyal clients. We weren't fancy, but we were solid. Life had finally steadied. Then everything cracked open again. I was fixing an air unit behind a bakery when my phone started buzzing. Unknown number, same area code as my hometown. I ignored it twice. The third time, I answered. "Yeah, this is Winter," I said. There was silence, then a voice I hadn't heard in 10 years. "Jackson." My chest tightened. "Who's this?" "It's me." "Emma." The world around me seemed to vanish. "Emma, how did you—" "I know I shouldn't call," she said softly, "but I thought you should hear this from someone who actually believes you." That sentence alone made my throat close up. She continued, "Anne's been arrested." I froze. "Arrested? For what?" "For lying," she said. "For accusing another guy the same way she did you." I leaned against the van, dizzy. "What?" "The man she accused this time fought back, got a lawyer. During the investigation, she admitted she made up the story again and confessed she lied about you too." Her words hit like a brick. For years, I imagined this moment, but it didn't feel like I thought it would. There was no joy, just silence. She told police she got pregnant after a one-night stand with a dealer named Vernon. He ran off and she panicked. "You were the easy one to blame," Emma said. "Jackson, they cleared your name, officially." I couldn't speak. My hand went numb holding the phone. "I just thought you should know," she said softly. "I'm married now, with kids, but I never forgot what they did to you." "You were the only one who ever believed me," I told her. "Don't feel guilty for that." We spoke for a minute longer, awkward but kind. Then she said goodbye. I sat in the van for an hour afterward, staring at the steering wheel. My name was finally cleared, 10 years too late. By morning, the calls started. Private numbers, emails, even one titled, "Please call us back." Curiosity won once. I answered an unknown call. "Jackson," a shaky voice said. I knew it instantly. My mother. "Don't hang up, please," she said quickly. "Anne told the police everything. We didn't know." I hung up. They didn't want to know. A local newspaper reached out for a statement. I gave none. I didn't want headlines or pity. I wanted quiet. But silence doesn't last. Jake emailed me next, saying he was young and stupid and hoped we could start over. Then Dad left a voicemail. "We just want to see you, son. We made mistakes." Mistakes. Forgetting a birthday is a mistake. What they did was a choice. Instead of replying, I wrote letters. Not the kind they expected. No forgiveness, no soft words. Just truth. I wrote about sleeping in my car, the moldy diner room, and the stranger who gave me shelter when my family didn't. About burning my school ID because their name made me sick. About watching their smiling photos while I scrubbed grease pans for scraps. They hadn't just ruined my reputation. They'd destroyed my trust, my home, my peace. I ended each letter the same. You didn't believe me when I told the truth. Now, you can live with it. I never mailed them. I kept them in a shoebox, tucked in my desk. That night, I sat in my workshop, surrounded by tools and vans with my company's name on them. Everything I'd built was mine, earned, steady, unbreakable. For the first time in years, I didn't feel erased. I felt written again. But peace never stays long. When the truth about Anne spread, the same people who'd abandoned me suddenly remembered I existed. It started with a knock on my office door. "Jackson?" A voice called. I froze. My mom stood there, smaller, older, hands trembling as she held a casserole dish. "I made your favorite," she said quietly. "Chicken and rice. You used to love it." For a second, I couldn't move. The smell hit me like a memory I didn't want. "Why are you here?" I asked. Tears filled her eyes. "To say sorry. We were wrong. Anne lied. We know that now." "You're 10 years too late," I said. She wiped her nose. "I didn't know what to believe back then. I was scared. Your father." "You didn't even ask me," I interrupted. "You just threw me out." She stepped closer. "Please, Jack, don't call me that," I snapped. "You lost that right." She flinched. I pointed at the door. "You should go." She hesitated, setting the dish on the counter. "At least eat this," she whispered. "Throw it out when you leave," I said. When the door closed behind her, I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just emptiness. 2 days later, my dad came. I was returning from a service call when I saw him outside, leaning on his truck like he owned the place. "Hey, son," he said, smiling like nothing had happened. I didn't answer. "You've done well for yourself," he said. "Business, employees, I'm proud of you." "Get to the point," I said flatly. He sighed. "Your mother's not doing well. She cries every day. Maybe if we all sat down, cleared the air." "Cleared the air?" I almost laughed. "You beat me, threw me out, left me homeless. You cleared the air when you told me I wasn't your son." He clenched his jaw. "You don't have to keep holding on to hate, son." "I'm not holding hate," I said, pulling out my phone. "I'm holding self-respect." His brow furrowed. "What are you?" "I've got someone trespassing," I told security on the line. "Red jacket." His face changed instantly. "You're calling security on your father?" "You're not my father," I said. "You're a stranger who destroyed my life." A guard came a few minutes later and escorted him out. Dad cursed the whole way to his truck and drove off. When the silence settled, I just stared at the spot where he'd stood. Rumors reached me through old contacts. My family was falling apart. Dad lost his job after yelling at a supervisor. Mom rarely left the house. Jake's wife had left him after learning the truth. Everything they'd built, their image of the perfect family, was crumbling. People say karma takes its time. I'd say it showed up right on schedule. Months passed before I heard from any of them again. I thought that would be the end of it. No more calls, no more visits. But the world has a way of circling back to you. One rainy afternoon, I got a letter at my office. No return address, just my name in a shaky script I didn't recognize. I almost threw it away, but something made me open it. It was from Anne. The first line read, "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need to tell you the truth myself." She said she'd been diagnosed with something serious, late-stage liver failure. Years of heavy drinking and bad choices had caught up to her. She was in a state rehab hospital, writing with what strength she had left. She confessed everything. Said she'd lied that night because she panicked. The pregnancy had come from a boy she met online, someone older who left when she told him. She was terrified, ashamed, and didn't want our parents to see her as a failure. "You were kind, trusted, and close enough to make it believable," she wrote. "I hated myself even as I said your name." She said she told herself it would all blow over, that somehow it would fix itself. But once the family turned on me, she didn't know how to undo it. "Every year, I thought about confessing," she wrote, "but the longer I waited, the worse it felt. I ruined you, Jackson. I ruined everything." The letter ended with, "I know sorry means nothing now, but I'll die knowing you deserved better than what we gave you." I read it twice, then set it down. My hands didn't shake. I didn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the ink until the words stopped feeling real. For years, I'd imagined this moment, her apology, her confession. I thought it would fix something inside me. It didn't. It just ended it. A few weeks later, I got another call from a hospital this time. Anne had passed away. Liver failure. She was 26. They asked if I wanted to be listed among her surviving family. I said no. That night, I went for a drive. No destination. The road was slick from rain, the headlights painting the asphalt silver. Somewhere outside of town, I pulled over and sat with the engine off. For the first time in 10 years, I said her name out loud. Just once. Then I let it go. After that, life went back to being quiet. Work, clients, steady paychecks. Peaceful. Until one evening, I came home to find someone sitting on the steps outside my house. A girl, maybe 9 or 10, dark hair, serious eyes. She looked like someone I used to know. "Can I help you?" I asked carefully. She stood up, holding a piece of paper. "Are you Jackson Winter?" "Yes." She handed me an envelope. My grandma said to give you this. Then she ran off before I could ask who. Inside was a letter from my mother. She wrote that Anne's daughter, the same girl I'd just seen, had been living with her since Anne died. She's a good kid, the letter said. Curious, bright, kind. She doesn't know what happened. She just knows she had an uncle once. Mom said she didn't expect forgiveness, but she wanted the girl to know her uncle wasn't a monster. If you ever choose to see her, she wrote, she deserves to know the truth from you, not from the lies we built. I folded the letter and stared out the window for a long time. Part of me wanted to throw it away, to stay in the safety of silence. But another part, the one that had been 17 and broken, couldn't stand the thought of that little girl growing up in lies like I did. A week later, I drove to my old neighborhood. The streets felt smaller, the houses older. My parents' place looked different, paint peeling, yard overgrown. I sat in the truck for almost half an hour before knocking. Mom opened the door. Her eyes were tired, but softer than I remembered. For a moment, we just stood there. She's in the back, she said quietly. The girl, my niece, was sitting on the porch steps with a book in her lap. She looked up and smiled politely. Hi, she said. Are you the uncle? Yeah, I said, sitting beside her. Guess I am. She showed me the book she was reading. We talked for a while, about school, about her favorite ice cream flavor, about nothing that really mattered. But for some reason, it did. When I stood to leave, she said, Grandma says you fix air conditioners. That's cool. I laughed. Yeah, I guess it is. As I walked away, my mom called after me. Thank you for coming. I didn't turn around, but I said, take care of her. That night back home, I opened the shoebox of letters I'd written years ago. I read the first one, the one that started, you didn't believe me when I told the truth. Then I burned it in the sink, one page at a time, until nothing but ashes remained. Some things don't need to be carried anymore. The world never gave me an apology I could hold, but it gave me something better, distance, perspective, and the proof that I could build a life from nothing. My name isn't Jackson Smith anymore. It's Jackson Winter. And the boy they erased, he's finally gone.